City Council meeting for the City of Yamhill to order on Wednesday, July 2023 at 6:42 p.m. And may I get a roll call, please?
Corrigan here.
Hichari here.
Potter here,
Adim here.
and Councillor Askey will be here momentarily.
He's raising his.
He's raising his hand is here. Excellent. Let's go ahead and stand for the flag salute, please.
You might shut this.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll start with public comment. Is there anybody that would like to speak for public comment?
Yes.
Mr. Disbro, please share with us.
Jay Disbro, 515 East Main Street, Yamhill. There to speak for the McBainville Amateur Radio Club. We'd like to extend our appreciation for the use of the park for our annual field day. It went very well from our perspective, and we would like to come back last year or next year. We would like to have been here last year too. But we'll set up for next year as well. We had 67 attendees.
Nice.
22 of those were club members, the rest were public.
Cool.
We had 3 public officials. Our digital contacts, we had 91. Voice contacts, 57. Our go-to contacts, those are people who don't have licenses that are allowed to get on the air. They made 21 contacts. And we had 10 youths that were there and participated. And we had 1 public official make a go-to contact. That was our emergency manager, Ryan Young.
Nice.
And our go-to contacts were all on, were 40 meters and 80 meters, which were pretty good at the time they were working. Atmospherics wasn't the best during that whole time, but we all had a real good time and really enjoyed it. And like I say, looking forward to coming back next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Huge success.
Wonderful thing.
That really is. Is there anybody online that would like to present for public comment? At this time, there's no additional public comments. We'll go ahead and close public comment. Is there any agenda updates or additions? Seeing none. May I get an approval? If there's no discussion, may I get an approval for the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Adim second.
A vote, please.
Corrigan, aye.
Hichari abstain.
Potter, aye.
Adim aye.
Askey, aye.
That was Counselor Askey.
I believe that was an aye.
And unfinished business. Staff report for resolution R810. A resolution to transfer money from sewer and water fund to sidewalk fund.
Speak on
If you would,
So
please.
this transfer here was what we discussed during budget. This transfer is gonna partake in fixing some of the sidewalks on the west end of Highway 47 in front of the high school. Kind of set the slate clean as far as just upgrading and not having to lean on the homeowner to improve that sidewalk.
Where is this exactly?
On the west side of the high school. The facing side of the high school, so you would be working off of Highway 47.
Is it on the east side of the highway or?
West side of the highway.
So where does it run? If you're facing the high school, it doesn't run right in front. That's a parking area, correct? Or open
Correct,
area?
it runs on the
Just the
west-
sides.
the west end, so.
Yeah,
it would
flanks
be-
and sides.
Where it goes up and then down and, okay, that would be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Is there any questions from council in regards to that?
No. Like a motion?
I would please.
I make a motion to approve resolution R 810, resolution to transfer money from sewer and water fund to sidewalk fund.
Adine second.
Vote please.
Corrigan, I.
Try on.
Potter, I.
Adine I.
Askey, I.
Thanks, Tim.
That's awesome. Okay, I know that it wasn't added or made, oh no, it is added. Okay, we'll do it. 10. All right, new business. A, paid leave, Oregon employers option to cover employee cost discussion. Angie, are you able to kind of give us kind of just an overview of what is, do you have that knowledge?
So I believe it has to do with, the 1% of the checks. I didn't get more than just the information that I kind of put into bullet points.
Okay.
But it has the, employees will be, contributing 1% of their paycheck toward, this paid leave Oregon. And I think what he was asking was, if with smaller, companies or less than 10 people, then it's not required of the employer to pay into that. But he has seen some that are paying it for the employee because they don't have to pay into that themselves. So.
And this is required statewide. This is a new, is it replacing the FMLA program? It's becoming a new leave program? You don't know, okay.
That's kind of what we've been told at work, is it's a new program,
That's what I've been told too.
not replacing FMLA, it's a different program.
May I speak on behalf of
Mhm.
Chief Craven? Chief Craven had expressed his interest in having the city look at paying that for the employees. I don't know if he's voiced that with you guys yet.
He did, he sent us an
Got an
email.
email.
Okay.
Yeah. and he said
$207 a month total cost.
270
70, okay.
would
For all
pay,
employees.
would pay all employees 1% each month. So it would be times 12.
Mhm.
So it would be every month, $270. Do you have any discussion regarding that?
How does it fit in our budget?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I never,
That party
It's
didn't
tight.
care, no.
I mean, I see how it's gonna affect the budget.
Because our employee and staffing has already increased dramatically.
Right.
Granted, this is only $270 a month, but it's $270 a month.
You know, I couldn't quite, was that $250 a month total for the city or for each employee?
Each employee for each month, they have to pay 1%. And the total for all the employees for 1 month is 270.
Okay.
And the employees would have to pay their own portion of the $270 a month. Or the employer can choose to pay the full $270 each month on behalf of the employees.
Okay, thank you.
That's my brief understanding.
Okay.
I'm listening.
So it seems to me, is this something that has to be decided this very moment? Because it seems to me that we might need more information on this.
No, it doesn't. We can table it.
My thinking is that we should definitely look at, well, because I mean, if you look down to the department reports and then performance reviews and pay increases. And then to look at our budget for employees. And make sure that everything fits before we make a commitment to something we can't afford. So does that put employees in a bad spot for the next month? Until our next meeting?
Do we know if it's already coming out of?
It's been coming out since the law officially began, and I think that was last month.
Coming
This
out of
this
your
last month,
checks.
correct.
As of May or June? May.
May.
And I can't ask
And
that.
is it
Right,
going
that's
to
what I
hurt?
wanna
I
know
think
too, how it
was your
impacts.
word, Shay.
Yes,
I mean, it's,
I mean-
it's 1%,
yes.
right?
So,
Of our, okay, so we're not talking about 10% or something like that.
Yeah.
No. And overall for a year, I'm adding this up to $3,240. That's,
I will say it hurts some employees more than others. And like we have pretty low paid utilities, so.
And for the association, that'll be something that we work into our bargaining that's gonna start this next year.
yeah, okay.
Excuse me.
additional questions?
Mm-mm.
We want to make a motion or do we want to table?
I have one other thought.
Okay.
Would it be, is it something that we could do to authorize a one-time payment of $270 to cover the employees for the next month? Will we come up with more information?
I don't think we could do that.
I think it would be the right thing to do.
What about last month? And May,
I mean, I am wearing a hat that says.
bad decisions.
My wife thought it would be a great hat for this meeting.
Very appropriate.
That would be a, you know, I'm not sure, I'm not against that if there's money for it.
My observation would be that'd be a bookkeeping nightmare.
Yeah, to
It
just
might
pick out
be.
a couple months. When does the pay period run from?
I'm suggesting that we go ahead and approve paying in full from this month forward. And if we can't find a place in the budget for it, then we readdress it.
Cause we can pull it back if we had no other options.
All right.
I can get behind that program, but they're gonna be real mad if we had to do that.
Well, it's a good faith effort on our part.
Yeah, I think so. I would be confident we should be able to find that.
Any questions from Counselor Askey? Do you have any questions for us? And input?
No, I'm in support of that. I think this is a good step towards helping to bolster retention.
Counselor Askey, we're still having audio issues and all of that was garbled. So will you raise your, well, when we do a motion and a vote, will you raise your hand for us to let us know yay or nay?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a motion?
I
please?
make a motion to approve paid leave Oregon employer's option to cover employees' costs. In the amount of $270 a month,
Adine second.
Beginning,
beginning July 2023.
and you seconded?
Yes.
A vote, please.
Corrigan,
HRI.
Potter, aye.
Adine, I.
Thank you.
Askey's hands up.
Counselor Askey's is.
Askey, aye.
Please, aye. How funny. Department reports, Administration Department, employee performance reviews and pay increases. Travis Van Cleve had his review and pay increase. All was well. He's still employed here. So we like that. Thank you.
very much.
Thank you for a good quality year. We appreciate your service. Do we have administrative reports that you're?
The
Sharing that
pass
time.
down directed from the chief was to let the council know that those annual reviews have been completed and that's been done in accordance with our collective bargaining agreement. And I do have the stats in front of me if you'd like a recap of those stats, otherwise they've been included in the packet, I was told.
The stats that are included in the packet? Have those. And they've been reviewed and they're always,
Any questions I can answer?
No, but I would really like to applaud your efforts. The way you handled the CPR emergency, just that your level-headedness in times of crisis are invaluable. So thank you for that.
That gentleman was discharged from the hospital on Sunday. This last week.
Wonderful.
So,
thanks, Julie.
thank you.
Thank you.
And as you know, there's HIPAA stuff, and so if you left out the things. For the record, we're going to read a letter received from a community member. And I would also include this from the county.
What's this though?
Well, yeah, I guess you have to do that. We're crossing out HIPAA violations and then we will read it for the record.
Is it a HIPAA violation if that person sent it to the city with their name intended on being announced?
I'm not gonna take that chance.
Thank you. Without the patient's permission. I don't wanna.
Understood.
So the first part, the email came from the county. This is Travis, I received this email on my weekend and I wanted to pass it along to you and Greg. You did an excellent job on this call and I can honestly say that if you hadn't gotten there and started CPR right away, this would not be the result. Thank you, Dan. And then from a family member of the patient, I'm writing to express my heartfelt gratitude for the tremendous help you and your department provided during one of the most challenging weeks my family and I have ever faced. It is thanks to their actions that my father's life was saved, and I cannot begin to express how truly grateful we are. When my stepmother gave me the card you had given her on the day of my dad's cardiac arrest, it reminded me of the incredible efforts made by everyone who responded to the emergency. Even though I wasn't present at the scene, I've heard stories of how everyone came together to assist. I'm certain that the collective actions are the reason my father is still with us today. Finding the right words to express the depth of my gratitude for you, the volunteers, EMTs, pilots, nurses, and doctors who worked tirelessly to provide my father with the critical care he needed is no easy task. My father joins me in sharing this immense gratitude. While I'm unsure of the individual who assisted my stepmother with CPR, I recall the name Travis being mentioned by the kind nurse in the ICU. If possible, I'd like to personally thank whoever played such a vital role, whether through a message of gratitude, a handshake, or a hug. Furthermore, I kindly ask that you pass along my heartfelt appreciation to anyone you know who was involved in the response to this emergency. Their assistance and efforts have made an immeasurable impact on our lives, and I want them to know how deeply grateful we are. Please accept my sincere thanks for the unwavering dedication and outstanding service of all involved. Their actions have undoubtedly changed the course of my father's life, and for that, my family and I will be forever grateful.
And for the record, he was discharged from the hospital on Sunday. God is good. Thank you, Travis.
Yeah. Amazing. My turn.
And just a personal question. It's the county person representative stated that they would not have survived had you not been there. And is that because of the locale of our police department and the ability of outside agencies to get to them?
In this case, the patient was about 2 minutes outside of town from EML. I got there within 2 minutes of the call. The next EMS responding unit arrived 7 minutes after I got there.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate that we have you.
Tremendously.
All right, anything further? Corporal Van Cleve
Thank you.
and Public Works.
Yeah, I did their reviews, outstanding reviews, both of them, Kyle and Josh. As noted, I mean, they're gonna get their cost of living, so that's about it. Is that it?
Excellent. Anything with Public Works that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, as far as water is concerned, we're still pulling in 440 gallons per minute, which is what our summer peak hours are. We went over this new intake design with John Christensen from AKS. We agreed to that design. We're looking for the kind of in-water workway to start to put that into play. ODFW drew back from the rock check dam that no longer is in play. That was part of that conversation. So those are pros and cons to that. We're looking at getting that filter media replaced early part of August.
On what basis did they nix the jam, whatever it's called?
Their fear was it would. Originally, they thought it was probably going to be suffice with fish habitat. But after bringing their engineers out there, they decided that it would cause more harm than good. Basically, we wouldn't reach our limits as far as our height limit, that 17-inch limit on our intake screen. So they agreed to allow us to enlarge the screen. Which in essence is probably a better thing, and most of that funding is gonna come from the subdivision.
Good, so the money that
yeah.
was promised us will just go
Just,
somewhere else, but
yeah,
for the
it's just gonna
same.
go to the
Nice.
intake screen, so
And you feel that would be, you said, a better option.
it was a better option the whole time.
And they originally poo-pooed that, right?
No, they said, here's an option with the screen, here's where your dollars can get you with the rock check dam.
Okay.
Then they went to design with AKS, brought back something that was, I'll throw numbers at you, it was around 60,000. And it increased it by 4 feet, so.
Okay.
Now we'll have a total of 6 feet, 6-foot screen as far as our intake, instead of a 2.5 foot. So it was a big win, it was a big win, I thought.
Nice.
That is good.
Mhm.
And we're in the middle heat of the summer and we're pulling 440 gallons per minute.
Correct.
And how is the levels of water? How are we doing with them?
Yeah, as far as levels, we're filling 500,000 gallons roughly in 12 hours. So we're on point where we were in the winter months.
So the
So,
reservoir still full.
full.
When would you be concerned?
There was something with water advisory where when we rewrote kind of the curtailments, the number one thing was probably putting out a level 1 just for an educational piece to carry us out through the summer. And I fully agree with that. It's kind of an oversight on my end. I didn't realize it was more of an educational piece. I just didn't want that alarm to go out and people think, oh, we're already at level 1 and here we are, so here we go. So, yeah, I would recommend to council to move forward with putting that educational piece out there as far as level 1. So, and, you know, I'd hate to scare up the public, but by no means are we at a level 1 necessarily.
There's no water
So,
concerns.
Yeah,
I think that could be part of the letter. There are no concerns at this time, just to.
correct.
Pay attention, don't leave your
Yeah.
hose running on a yard that's.
Correct.
Yeah.
correct. And, you know, and there's a lot that partakes in this. For example, Kyle spoke at the Water Advisory Committee. We haven't even opened any of the valves at the end pound. We still have overflow. So that
Yeah.
just goes to kind of add to that.
Well done.
And our meters have alarmed residents quicker of high usage. That's been a big plus. You know, once they're not used to paying a certain amount and then they see that amount, they're alarmed a lot quicker fiscally. So it kind of alerts them to react in more of a conservation way, so.
And sending out a level 1 education will be helpful in the fact that last year when we sent that out, the usage cut in half, like almost immediately. And so if we educate them again and just remind them, you know, it's pretty hot outside, let's save some water. That
You know,
it will save.
correct. I mean, it could serve quite a little bit. And I think that's why that piece was created for conservation. Yeah, I think we've all learned something, you know, from the years past, you know, I mean, I don't think we even went to a level 1. My recall was we went right to a level 2, I'm assuming. So, you know, this kind of gives them forewarning throughout the summer.
I was also thinking, Jason, not trying to micromanage you.
No.
Please know that.
No.
So the young man that works for you that mows my alley, he said he's come up against people, talking to him about, please don't mow my alley because my boat's in the way and I'm not gonna move my boat
Right.
or don't spray this, I'm not gonna take care of it, but I don't want you to take care of it in its entirety. So I'm wondering if with our level 1, we could include something, you know, take a moment, look at the improvements of the park and look how nice everything looks, and the city's making a huge effort to improve aesthetics, and they'll be working, weed eating the ditches and doing some spraying. If you'd like to maintain that property on your own, please do.
Mhm.
And move your stuff. Those are fire lanes. Those alleys are fire lanes. And there should not be a boat in the way, because I mean, a vehicle you could move, you could find the keys and move it, but a boat and you're not home.
Maybe, and just reminding them, these are fire lanes and they are a hazard
So
by,
maybe Angie could help just write a nice little informational.
That was gonna be my next question, if that's been on your radar, Angie. Do you know if that's come up as far as parking in alleys?
I mean, the right of way, I've gotten, just as they're reported to me, I'm keeping a spreadsheet, so if there's any addresses, things that you notice, please let me know and I can send them out a letter.
Yeah, we've been building some time on just the thought pattern of doing kind of a geofabric along those fire lanes / easements and just putting a rock grade down, just because the maintenance is, I wouldn't use the word overwhelming, but it's redundant in the sense that it doesn't need to be there, so.
Well, people's
that's-
homes back into those and they're not accessible because they're fenced, then who maintains it? You know, I know
Yeah.
I do on my end and the guy on the other end, and then the two shall never meet.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
jungle in there.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, that would be great. I think the verbiage on that would be a good thing. So,
Just a nice friendly, here's what we're doing, and, cause really, Jason, everything looks so nice.
yeah, we've done a great job. It's been a great effort. Yeah, I'm proud of everybody, staff.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah, I spoke with Angie today. There's one thing that has to be solidified. That's our contract with Lawson Corp, who got awarded the bid for the East Third Street water improvement. Just kind of putting that out to council. We'll probably have to reach out to legal and write and get that contract established so that they can get that work done in a reasonable time.
How are you gonna handle parking at the park?
Derby days.
Yeah, and all the heavy equipment.
The heavy equipment has been moved. Lawson Corp's been phenomenal as far as helping us out.
They picked everything up last night, I think.
Right,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, and they even manicured kind of the horseshoe, the / driveway there for the park. Equipment's been moved, thanks Shay. Their signage has been removed, so there's no detour signs other than what we're gonna put in place as far as police and public works. We're gonna lean on the Vanson's not Vanson's, but Van Dyke's property to kind of take a lot
Yeah.
of that traffic burden.
and we still have a clearly marked handicapped area, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Two of them.
Thank you.
and paved. They're not even rock, they're paved.
Yeah, as most of you probably heard, the flagpole's up at Derby Days. The guys got everything planted around the gazebo, so that's really been a real vibrant look to that gazebo, finally.
Oh,
getting
it's
it.
beautiful.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got that
great.
raw. It's good, yeah.
Little girl smoked 2 of those plants though yesterday.
Yeah, that's what the guys were telling me. Can't keep people out of it, but we're trying. Jumping back into wastewater now, working with a new contractor. The contractor I originally had scheduled to do the I&I backed out. He just said that it was too overwhelming, too much of a burden for his staff. Didn't feel like he could give us the product we needed. So now we're working with a company out of Washington who's gonna come in and do some lining of the manholes, because the I&I is still gonna be an issue. For instance, currently with engineering and the contractor and the developer, we're looking at tying in the tile line from Van Dyke's property into our storm system. So I'm a little, as much I&I we can get done this summer would be a great asset to the city, not to take much into those lagoons. And the lagoons are looking really well. We've had TAG come out there and reprogram quite a bit and work with kind of the sludge judges and see where our sludge is at to see if we can get some of that removed and take in more so we don't have dead zones in our wastewater lagoons. So there's been a lot of movement. It's hard to kind of just put your thumb on a couple of
Movement in
things.
lagoons.
We did have a trunk line over on North Hemlock that broke. It is the third Band-Aid on that trunk line. We're working with engineering right now to come up with a scope of work so we can get the work done while there's a contractor in eyesight to get that line completely replaced. Our projections, or at least their projections, are probably around 60,000, which I think it's doable. It's a high priority now. It's gonna move way up on the CIP list, so. Done. King and Sons has gone out and done some spot checking to do the insertive valve. Those are 3 insertive valves along our main line that runs up to Highway 240. So we'll be able to isolate that line without being able to shut the school down. So that's completely in play right now. They're doing one off Cedar. Just spot checking. We got to get the ODs on that pipe, so we make sure we get the right insertive valves. So it's a heavy lifting project. I don't think I've given it enough description as it needs, but it's going to be a big benefit to the city. Along those lines, we found that the school's a little bit more active than we thought. There were supposed to be abandoned lines in there, and we found out real quick that those lines are not abandoned. They're on a loop system that's feeding right back into 240, which we kind of ran into that issue on North Hemlock. We chased valves and could not figure it out. Working with Lawson, Mike Lawson, that is, he spotted a couple of valves for us that we knew about. So we knew something was going on there that was irregular. We isolated it, and yeah, things look good now. At least we're aware of them. It was one of those hidden little gems that nobody really knew of until Mike showed us, in a sense. So
In a sense.
yeah, we're getting all the striping done on Highway 47 also. So all the crosswalks will have a fresh new thermoplastic down for your walkways, which is a huge benefit. So other than that, I mean, we're just moving along, moving pretty quick. So
When those things come up, do we put out a notice on social media or the website or?
we should, but to be honest with you, Mayor, the procurement of getting a contractor at this time of year is pretty rare. So we jumped on the first opening they had, and I just didn't have enough time to react with Angie and Kim to kind of create that on the website. It was, yes, I'll take it. We'll be there tomorrow. So it was one of those, and I just couldn't pass it up with Derby Days right around the corner. So I just pulled the trigger on it. But you're right, other
They ask.
projects, and I understand, but
Yeah.
it's a quick moving world out there with contractors this time of year. Tim Tice is finished. I've stated this time and time again with the rate study. His stamp is on it. He's just working on the conservation aspect. He looked at our rates. He's willing to come here and discuss those at probably next council meeting, what his thoughts are as far as what we did with the 10%. And kind of give his 2 cents of what direction we probably want to go in the future, if not in the present.
Good. So
Thank
we'll hear more next month,
Yes.
the full report or an update?
You're gonna get an update on the rate study, but probably not the conservation end of it.
That's good to know. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Excellent. Thank you for your report.
Okay.
Appreciate it. All right, at this time, we will go to committee reports. Water Advisory Committee, Mr. Jensen. Is he?
He's not gonna be able to be here tonight. Just something to add to it as well. We met last month and we had some members from different water districts coming in to talk about their concerns and the rate study, but we're still waiting on that report at this time, so we didn't really go over a whole lot there. The other thing we talked about was the ordinances that we had put together, and we had approved the new restriction levels and to follow up to make sure that those actually got signed and put into place, because that would be what the level 1 education piece would be off of those new restrictions that we had done. So it was just a follow up, because I know with the had fallen through the cracks a little bit as to making sure that was in place. We wanted to make sure that that got done and got on the website was the big question there, is getting it up on the website so everybody can see it and share that.
The new restriction levels, have they been rewritten? And
Because we had approved them at a council meeting, but it never got the final signatures and posted online. So we
Okay.
were waiting for we need the final signatures so that we can, because that's what the education level 1 is on the new, not the old ones.
excellent, that will.
And the only other question that we talked about was the Merkley money, if that was actually there or not, or if we need to look at other funding options for what that money was gonna pay for.
Do you know have any information on that?
What I know is that the Merkley money or the Merkley grant has gone back to the state level to be assessed to see if we can be awarded the grant. So it's back to almost point A. So
Is there anything we as a city can do to encourage, motivate?
just make sure people are dotting i's and crossing t's, because that's what happened there. Yeah, it's a big miss.
Anything else from Water Advisory?
Otherwise, we're just meeting every other month unless we get the rate study back, then we'll probably have a special meeting to go over that, but otherwise we won't have one until August.
Next one is in August.
Yes, because we won't have a July one, it'd be August.
Okay. And at the Water Advisory Committee, a lot of the districts, water districts, attended.
Yes.
And they were, lots of concerns and fears that their water was gonna be shut off. How was that resolved with them?
I think ultimately, if you don't mind, Marcy, I think ultimately that wasn't us delivering that message. I think there was a kind of a rumor mill about us doing that, and I think we solidified that during that meeting that no one's water is getting shut off, you know, and there's a legal standpoint behind that I'm not gonna get too deep into right now in this meeting, but as of now, nobody's water is getting shut off. I mean, it's a process. The one thing I did talk to the district about, at some point, the city is gonna wanna look at writing some kind of IGA with the district. I know some people oppose this idea, but I think at some point you're gonna wanna bring them in as one whole. And I spoke to a few people
So
that
instead of 10 districts, that we just have
We
one
have one.
outside the city district.
where we just have city water,
So they become
part of the city.
part of the city as a
And-
district.
Yeah, in doing so, what I'm saying is you would say there's a certain standard, maintenance standard, operations and means standard that you guys have to meet. And once you meet that, then we'll bring that district in, and then we'll just continue to do that, because I don't think the city's in a good place to continue to fight outside districts with inside, you know, water. I feel like we're a community, let's make it one whole.
Yeah.
And that's just my thought and. kind
My
of-
problem
kind of
is
from the
though,
heart, more or
when
less.
it's used for irrigation and livestock and such, when we're in town, we're using it to drink and bathe and cook, so
I
it's just a
understand.
difference for me.
Understand. Yeah, it's easy to talk about, but I imagine the legalities behind it would be pretty prolific and long.
But I'm glad because I feel the same way that we are.
I think that's thinking into that future, like you gotta look into that ball and say, what's our next step, so.
And my understanding is nobody at any time has talked about turning off any of the districts whatsoever.
And Kathy Phillips attends regularly, correct?
Yes, she's.
And she's
one
a
of the
water
members.
just, yeah.
Yeah.
Good, I'm glad they have representation.
Yes. Me too.
All right,
Okay,
thanks, Marsh.
anything else for Water Advisory Committee? Planning Commission, Mr. Moore.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, yeah, I told Angie I wasn't gonna be here and then I just couldn't stay away.
I hear you.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah.
Now you're stepping out, or you going to the podium?
We can see the back of his head when he stands up.
Yeah, just, we did unearth the UGB work that we did before with John Morgan. And so that's all there, and we're moving forward, looking for grants and we gave the engineer lots of questions, and he's gonna come back to move ahead on that. Hopefully we can do that and take another look at the gas station. So, yeah, we want a front door and we want a roof line that looks, and I hope they heard us this time. And we're really in a quandary about that stop. yeah, other buildings are at the corner for precedent, but it doesn't meet, I mean, there are some safety codes that you gotta see better around the corner than coming right to the corner, so that's one we have discretion on. We have a lot of discretion on this one, so it's pretty interesting. It's not just, cut and dried on whether it meets or not. There's a lot of, we could, it's up to the individual commissioners. It's pretty interesting. I would like to make a request that the committee reports go back to the beginning of the city council meeting, and you have your reasons, and I'll just make that request and leave it there.
Why would that benefit? What would the benefit?
Benefit, me, because sometimes it gets really late and I beat, and I know you guys stay and I respect that, but sometimes I just really want to go home and it's really late to sit through it all and just say hi. That's totally not a legitimate request, but there it is anyway.
Well, I appreciate your honesty.
One more thing, just a little coaching. I like this because I've been running kind of a loose ship in the commission. Can you turn off the recording? Anyway, and we get a lot of talk and I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of a committee guy, everybody talks, but no. And lately the engineer's been saying, is this part of the agenda right now? He's trying to prompt me to get these people to be in order. So like tonight we had a question about clarifying, what was that? How do you handle this? People have something they gotta say, they didn't get a chance to say it, yet they're not on the agenda and they're raising their hand and they're interrupting. And have you been pushing people to the pulpit? The pulpit's kind of a good thing. Like if you're here, you can talk. If you're not, you can't.
Robert's rules,
Yeah.
read them, just look it up and
Yeah.
just follow it. And it will not be well received, but you will enjoy it more because we had to put those into place.
You'll be able to get more work done.
Yeah, and because that's what it's about. You have a job to do. We have a job to do with that continual interruption, and or continual clarification. Not that people shouldn't be able to ask questions, but
But that's the problem.
yes, so,
Yeah,
Robert's rules.
How do you, not that they shouldn't be able to, even though they're not here.
yeah, just look it up and we have some stuff posted and, yeah, we'll give
And
you
you
good
struggled with this evidently,
for quite a while,
and you kind of reined it in.
Some, we still have to
No,
give
still
gentle
working on it.
reminders.
So you're struggling too. Okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't quite so bad, but I do need to tighten it.
It
Yeah.
is essentially the commission's meeting. It's
Mhm.
not a community meeting.
Yeah.
They have an opportunity to speak during public comment,
Mhm.
but it's your meeting to get work done.
Yeah, so just tell yourself it's okay to tell them no.
Say that again, please.
It's okay to tell them no,
Yeah.
not during this time, not right now.
After the public comment
Yes.
section's over.
Uh-huh, not at this time.
Is that an air compressor?
Yeah.
Oh, it's that thing. Oh, okay. Great. All right, that's all I got.
I had a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
So first of all, I think you run great meetings. I listen to all of them. I think you do a good job.
Wow, great.
So how many times they can appeal indefinitely the gas station? Cause I feel like a lot of time's being consumed.
A lot of, I think their money too, they
Sure.
reapply and everything. No, I don't think there's a limit.
I don't think so either. But I think that you guys are doing a great job. I think you're very thoughtful on your decisions. And like you said, with the ability to see around the corner, and one of the things that they spoke about was the Larson House, the T&E, those buildings wouldn't meet modern code, but those buildings were built before automobiles. So you take that into account that maybe this new building should not maybe apply to horse and buggy standards. And I think you guys are doing a fantastic job with that.
Bump out at T&E really does, because you can parallel park there, it does force the people that need to see out away from the
Yes,
corner of the building.
dangerous.
It would not be the case here.
Would not, yeah.
It would not. It's gonna be right there. But shoving the building this way has its own problems in that it would push the driveway. If they tried to put the building up against the restaurant, then the driveway would be too close to the intersection, so they can't go over there. And they can't just move it some because there's a setback restriction, so they're really in a tight spot, and a lot of the commission feels like it's just too small of a lot to put all those pumps there. And we just don't see the trucks going through. And so there's just been a lot of problems, but they're back again, so. If they figure it all out. You know, I tell people it's not up to us whether we think we need another gas station or not. It's not our call. And we love T&E and well, how will that fit? Not part of this deliberation. So sorry if they comply and we end up with a gas station there. We didn't want one. It's just.
They meet code and criteria, even if you hate it, you have.
Yeah, this overlay is really helping us to have a town we look like what we want it to look like. Otherwise, we would have we'd have gas station would be being built right now. If we didn't have a commercial business, commercial district overlay.
I commend you. That's a lot of work.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, great.
A lot of stress. Ken, do you have a public hearing coming up? Planning on the next Wednesday?
Yeah, do I have a
The planning commission,
Yeah,
and it's a public hearing.
Public hearings.
is that, have they been noticed?
Yeah.
We're all good.
Yeah, I sent it out today.
Great.
You want my copy?
Yeah.
You need it more than I do.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a related question, but is the city being reimbursed for the staff time that's being spent on this project over and above the free gratis time in the right ordinances
On which project?
on the gas station project?
Will the fees have increased?
Okay, but there are billable hours to the contractor for staff time.
Okay,
Is the contractor being billed?
we will ask the staff.
Because one example was that the planner was tasked to get with the contractor to go over and see what they could do to do that. So my question is, who was paying for the planner's time? That should have been the contractor and not the city.
I agree.
No.
Was it outside of city time? Isn't that part of their job if they're working and that's a city project?
So they're like.
Or is it outside of their time?
Public Works, I think staff time could be charged to the contractor for some of the services that are provided.
Okay.
We'll ask about that and we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. Anything else from the planning commission? Council reports. Anybody have anything to report on?
I've got some stuff.
Councilor Corrigan, you do.
So one thing that's kind of cool that we just got figured out about an hour before this meeting is we think we might have found a really kind of Yamhill way to pay for our Christmas lights this year.
Please do
So
tell.
we are raising $6,500, which will be for the purchase, not the rental of lights that will be controlled by remote control. So somebody gets remote control, maybe him. And so we'll be able to change those. So what we're doing with the help of the Yamhill Downtown Association and TJ's Gun Sales, we will be raffling off a pair of shotguns.
Whoa.
Yes.
Keep it Yamhill.
Yeah. $10 a ticket. Well, you know, we're working out whether we're gonna do one or two, so we'll get some odds together here in the next couple days. And then we're hoping for some help with T&E. Pam Kirsch has mentioned that she will stay inside the guidelines of Facebook and
Mhm.
firearms, but would be helpful in that aspect. I think Larson House and probably the new guys at Yamhill Bar and Grill will be helpful as well to
Mhm.
get these tickets dispensed. We will be referring it as intended for field use shotgun as per the request of one of the Yamhill Downtown
Field
Association
use,
people. Moving on from that,
No backyard use of the shotgun. Got
no
it.
home defense is what they were.
Oh,
hoping for.
okay.
Yep, this would be for
Same
targets, yep, not living targets. So we said we could do the best we could with that. We've been looking into, so the state of Oregon has measure 110. 110 and Trev's, anytime that I say something incorrect on this, please let me know, because there's about 1 billion working parts to this thing, and I am not a lawyer, nor do I pretend to be one. However,
You kind of do.
I cannot get a lawyer to call me back to save my life. So Measure 110 effectively made the possession of small amounts of
Less than 2 grams.
less than 2 grams. It depends on what all it is, but so is this right? So less than 1 gram of heroin, less than 1 gram or 5 pills of MDMA, less than 2 grams of meth, less than 40 units of LSD, less than 12 grams, and on and on and on, is if he says, would you like a 1-800 number to call to get treatment, we will just let you go. And you say, yes, I would like that, and then you're off the hook.
That's after they're decided for the violation. It would go to the circuit court for violations where those are heard in general for the county. And then if they show up to court, they're given that option for treatment to call the number.
And the alternative is a $100 fine that has no mechanism to be paid.
They're given the opportunity to pay $100 fine.
And previous to Measure 110, that was a felony.
Those were felony
Yeah.
crimes, correct?
So this has not worked well for Portland. This has not worked well for the state of Oregon. I love that you are shaking your head. I have reached out to Clackamas County, especially Commissioner Ben West was really wanting to change for Clackamas County those rules. You have an opportunity through municipalities, through home rule, League of Oregon Cities handbook, to enhance those penalties. So we believe, I believe,
Within city limits.
within city limits, I believe that we can increase those to a Class A misdemeanor. They would then be prosecuted for the city of Yamhill through circuit court in Yamhill. I've reached out to Lindsay Burschauer, who is a liaison for the sheriff's department, the circuit court, and the DA's office. She's confident that all would be on board. She's definitely on board if we were able to come up with verbiage that keeps everybody from getting sued. I've reached out to League of Oregon Cities and Janie Pierce, who is their legal advisor. Our lawyer, Heather Martin, who's going to be working out verbiage for this, will be then double checked by League of Oregon Cities. Chief Graven said that he believes with his knowledge of Brad Berry, the DA, that he might be likely to be in support. The head of the circuit court would be likely to support as per Lindsay Burschauer.
Would this need to be something that's put on a ballot for vote from the community?
So I believe that our charter, although does not say it, I believe that that home rule can apply to it. So we can actually have an ordinance change without having it go to a public vote. If it did have to go to a public vote, a special vote could occur. It would cost the city money, but it wouldn't, it's 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 people at this point. The county of Clackamas has decided to wait until the ballot comes out in May. I think a good question would be, how many people are gonna die of these drugs between now and May? And if there's anything that can be done to stop this, I think that it would be important. So carrying larger amounts of these drugs, so 1 to 3 grams of heroin is no longer a felony. It's a simple possession is a misdemeanor now.
I believe that misdemeanor is a Class C. It may be an A misdemeanor, but it's definitely lower on the scale.
So by moving to a Class A misdemeanor, it would change the fine from, please hopefully show up in court for maybe an 800 number or $100 fine, to up to $6,250 and 1 year in jail. Which, I mean, if I was moving drugs from, Hillsborough and Forest Grove to Mac or vice versa, I might find a different road to travel.
That would be nice.
Yeah, and I think it would make our kids safer, make the community better. So,
I have 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, one is actually just information. Mary, Commissioner Starrett and myself and one of my coworkers are part of the Oregon Firearms Association, I think is what it is. She's on the board of that. That might be something you can ask her about, send her an email and ask her if she's interested in supporting the city of Yamhill and in that with her association to that. association.
absolutely, I would, and I'm reaching out to, and please don't think that I've overlooked your office as I mean, I've got phone calls out to everybody and Yamhill has been very good about returning calls. Clackamas County, not so much. League of Oregon Cities is, I'm not sure. They're either completely overwhelmed with business right now or they just don't like me. But I can't get them to call me
Will
back.
you also run it by a city attorney?
Yeah, so Heather Martin, I have a phone call into her currently, and I'm confident that she'll get back to me. I really wanted to get with Janie Pierce at LOC first to make sure that there wasn't just a clear roadblock in the way. It does not appear to be in any way that there is a clear roadblock. It's just that nobody's done it. Once somebody does, it can change. Blaine, I think it was Washington, was the first to change the rule in Washington. And now that they have moved statewide, to start to bring the drug rules back to what they used to be, because these guys have their hands completely tied.
Do you attend the League of Oregon City Friday legislative updates?
I have not.
On Friday at noon, and almost every Friday at noon, they do legislative updates and they update on what's going on with the legislator, what's happening with things.
Mhm.
And if they're passing, if they're failing, what we as a community can do to support or be against, that kind of thing. I'll send you the link. And you can.
I actually have it on I've subscribed to them on the phone, so I try to take classes through them periodically. I just haven't. On their meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can look into that for sure.
And they do ask for comments or questions, and then they do their best to answer them. So that would be a great
Fantastic.
opportunity to throw it out there with other elected officials and city staff people and find out.
And I'd also like to put just a public record that Marty Fouts has been instrumental in coming up with. He has gone down rabbit holes on the internet with this thing that are just
The research.
incredible. Oh my God.
Yeah.
If we ever do that sort of thing in the city, I highly recommend.
And my next question is actually for Corl Van Cleve. What is LEO's perspective on all this? What would you like to see the city do or not do?
I know in my previous experience with the city of McMinnville, granted that was 20 years ago, the city of McMinnville's adopted multiple statutes that they have generally as unclassified misdemeanors, which means if you were caught urinating in public, you could be taken into custody. It's not a state law, but the city of McMinnville had made their own ordinance as an unclassified misdemeanor. I'm not sure how those are now, but I know that it's been done in the past. Here at our police department, we would love to be able to have some proactive tools to use to get those folks off the streets. And have some repercussions compared to what 110 has done over the last year or so. Which I think I could count on one hand the number of citations that I've written, and I could probably quadruple the number of fingers that I have for the number of violations that I've encountered that I've not taken action on, because it's just defeating to me. In my capacity to see those folks go to court and not do anything and not have any repercussions when they choose not to take those options that they have available to them. And I know the state put out stats this last year, out of the 10 to 20,000 folks who were encountered by law enforcement who did get citations, less than 0.1% actually sought treatment. Somewhere along those lines. And even less, not less than that, the ones who sought treatment was less than 1%. The ones who paid the fine was less than 10%, I believe, of those 10 to 20,000 folks who were encountered by law enforcement for drug violations.
And if they
So-
don't even show up, do they get a failure to appear?
There are no repercussions for folks that don't follow through with whatever path they choose. I think there are repercussions for just in general failing to appear for the hearing, but beyond that. It's the way of the world.
But it doesn't have to be in Yamhill.
It does not.
It does not have to be in Yam.
Keep it, yeah.
Keep it Yam.
That's right.
Mayor, may I make a contrast?
Sure.
I spent some time in the UK. And on their drinking, your first time of being caught drinking was a 1-year suspension on your license. Across the board. We had a police officer, he lost his license. So the problem with Oregon is they're too lenient. There's no repercussions for not following the ordinances and the laws. And it just multiplies.
That's what my dad said about Scotland. They just don't drink and drive. The penalty is so stiff, you don't risk it.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is, the verbiage that we were looking at with I believe it was Blaine, Washington, gives wide officer discretion, so they're not under a mandate. If you found a kid that you just had made a bad choice, and somebody said, hey, here's a pill, and it was in his, it wouldn't mandate that they had to be arrested. It gives wide officer discretion to make that choice, and I think that our police officers are fantastic about making great choices.
Do you have samples of these ordinances that are
Yeah.
worded and everything?
Yeah.
Can you run them by our officers to
Oh, absolutely,
get their
yeah,
input on-
absolutely.
If I can add on to the statement that you just made, there's very few statutes for the state of Oregon that are mandatory arrests. Those being
Okay.
domestic violence arrests and restraining order violation arrests. Oregon is great about giving us as officers the discretion to pursue any crime with the exception of a few that I just talked about. So any drug crime that we decided to pursue as an ordinance for the city of Yamhill would not fall under that mandatory statute. So we could handle that however we saw fit if we encountered something like that.
So verbiage wouldn't even need to be included then.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we would still have discretion.
Sure.
Excellent.
That's basically all I have. It's just that there's about 1 billion working parts.
I look forward to hearing more.
Yeah,
Support you in this.
thank you.
This is good. All right, I have one thing. So at our Friday, First Fridays, where council meets with the community and is open to stuff. We had some people attend and they had some just suggested recommendations for council, which actually was not a bad idea. But I wanted to get your buy-in and see what you thought about it. They recommended that the council and the other committees of the city become more familiar with our municipal codes and our building codes and our city charter. And they recommended that on the first Fridays between the 5:30 and 6 PM, the half hour, that we cover one municipal code and one building code and one city charter. And there's 13 codes. There's 10 headers for the city charter and the building code doesn't say.
Would those materials be provided to us then?
Yeah, we would just start from the beginning and we would just work through. And for example, there's 13 municipal codes. So we could cover one a month for a year and only have one left over to cover. So, but that, we invite the community to that because they're coming on First Fridays at 5:30 or 4:30 to 6. And we spend that first half hour just reviewing that code for the month. We call it our code of the month kind of thing on First Fridays. And we post it so they know what codes are being addressed on that night. And they can show up and we'll review it with us and get a better understanding. We all learn it.
I think that's fantastic, because if we actually found something that was goofy in said code, which we did
Yeah.
when we were talking about the noise ordinance, there's no noise ordinance for music. There isn't one. So
Not
if you
even
have your
Justin
food box
Bieber.
at 3 AM, it's
Wow.
it's just okay, I guess.
Okay.
Anyway,
So
I think
it
it's cool.
would be a great way to involve the community, for everybody to review it, be aware of it, talk
And
about
Kim's
it.
got the published version.
Does she? Good. Okay. And then, so we as a council would do that on our First Fridays. But what do you think about asking the other committees, the Water Advisory and the Planning Commission, to incorporate their codes and do one for the first 15 minutes of their meeting?
Talk about the building codes, kind of be more of the planning.
Yeah, they go
reviewing
through all the
that.
building codes. And that's, the building code is 9.04.010, I believe, through 9.04.130. So that would be 120 codes.
I think it's cool.
Okay. I will, I'll ask Angie. If she can
Sorry, Angie.
prepare for us a code each month
Yeah, that was
and
wonderful.
a city charter header.
I have a request also, Mayor. I think we need to set a standard for decorum during that time. This will be my 4th time doing the meet and greet. The first time, there was nobody here. The second 2 times, I was treated so disrespectfully, and and Counselor Hadeen can support me on this. I was harassed unmercifully. And I don't want to tolerate that. It's not okay with me. So can we have rules of decorum for that time as well? And then how do we present that, enforce that?
Absolutely. Nobody wants you to experience any of that ever. That's not appropriate in any fashion or form. We can just ask them to leave. And if they don't, we can then contact them the officers to come and escort them out and trespass them. from
Well, and the last
premises.
time Kim could hear it from the other room and came in to support me and brought the code book because I was being harassed so loudly. Yeah, and Marcy could
I
attest to
am
that
so
one.
sorry you went through that.
Well, I
Is that
just,
something, sorry to interrupt, is that something that you'd like us to work, incorporate into our shifts? As far as having a presence here?
I would like that, because I don't know how much of it is a gender thing, you know what I mean? I don't know, but I would like
Was
that.
were those particular community members at our last meeting?
Yeah, much different atmosphere, Marcy said.
Completely different from.
So just like either I don't have
I
to
can
put
see
up
how
with
you
it,
take
or I
that
don't
personally.
have to attend. Either one works for me.
I wish I could let you off the hook like that, but I don't want you to go through that. That's absolutely, and you have every right to just get up and walk out. You don't have to be there.
If I'm there and I'm not noticing that you're having difficulties like that, would you tell me?
Would notice.
You would know.
Was I there for any of that?
Yeah, you were there, the Pam, and yeah. That's why Kim came in.
Yeah, they were a little bit grouchy, for sure.
Well. You're so much more diplomatic than I am. I've never been talked to like that in my entire life, and I'm not gonna say how old I am. But I'm in a very public job, and so I deal with lots of people all the time, and I seriously have never been talked to like that in my entire life. Not the night you were there, the night Marcy was there. It was tamer when you were there, but it was still present.
It was
It's
still,
an underlying layer of disrespect.
that I did pick up on, but
Mhm.
yeah, I'm
So,
constantly abused, so I'm just numb to it.
anyway,
Let us know how we can support you.
I asked Kim to be there again. So I'm gonna buy her dinner and afterwards we'll go out and have some fun, but.
Kim did put an end to it,
She did, but
there was a little bit of,
pushback there too, but she had the documentation right in front of her. So she, in essence, said the same thing that I said
she used a mom voice.
4 times. But she had the paper to back her up. And yeah, she did use the mom voice.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
Thank
there's
God
that.
for Kim.
And what day is that meeting?
Friday, August 4th.
Is that the first Fridays?
Yeah, first
Yeah,
Friday,
the first
4:30
Friday of
to
every month.
6.
4:30 to 6, yes.
Can I ask council, totally unrelated to any of this, but the salary rate study that Ross Schultz came up with, are you guys gonna adopt that?
As soon as it's presented to us.
He said he did present it to you guys. You looked at it.
Was it needing to be voted and adopted or just approved or reviewed? Okay. We weren't aware of that. Can you bring it back to the table?
You'd have to read that. Awesome, and I have my copy.
Oh, like to see it.
Okay.
I've got a copy of that too, I can put something together for the next meeting if that's, I give it to Angie. And
Yeah, I'm just surprised we were advised
Angie has nothing to do this one,
for Angie.
we really like you.
Like a motion there,
I would, yes, please.
make a motion, we adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Talk about sandwich and have a hard cider or beer.
Ooh.
Yeah.